Hello everyone, my name is Libraries and this video is sponsored by Mafio. Today we are not just looking at the data points, we are stepping into the role of health architecture. In your master's program, you have learned how to clean data and run models. But today we shift the focus to why we do that actually. We are exploring the quantitative frameworks for health equity. The subtitles here is crucial. From passive observation to structural advocacy. Most health analysts are content to just report that certain group is sicker than another. We are going to learn how to use data to advocate for the structural changes to actually fix those gaps. Let's define our mission. Historically, public health has been about passive observation, literally just counting the sick. Okay, we have all seen those reports. Group X has 20% more diabetes than group Y, but as health data scientists our mandate is active diagnosis, not the passive one. Okay, think about it this way, like we don't merely describe suffering, we diagnose the structural failure that produce it. If a neighborhood has higher rate of asthma, is it just bad luck or is it proximity to a highway and poor housing quality? Our mission is to force an evaluation beyond the what of descriptive statistics to why and who of systematic inequity. We are moving from observers to being diagnostics of the system itself. Okay, the question is, how do we actually see vulnerability in population? We use composite indices. These are mathematical tools that combines multiple variables into a single score to represent community risk. Look at this diagram. Instead of isolating single factor like income, we synthesize variables to locate true vulnerability. We stack age demographics on top of housing quality and income data. Okay, we use, when you press those layers together, you get a composite risk score. This gives us a 3D view of a risk that a simple average could never provide us. Our first major tool is the social vulnerability risk index. Then we can also say that SVI. I call this the shield because it measures resilience. It was developed by CDC and ATSDR to identify communities that lack the resources to survive external shocks like a flood, a pandemic, or a heat wave. The SVI isn't just academic, it's the engine behind resource allocation. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, SVI was used to decide where vaccine clinics should be placed to reach the most at-risk people first. It also directed emergency support during Hurricane Katrina. It tells us if a disaster hits tomorrow, who is most likely to be half behind. So, what is inside this shield? The SVI uses 15 census variable to generate a single percentile score. We can group these into four main themes basically. So, first one is socioeconomic status. This includes poverty, unemployment, income levels, or whether residents have high school diploma or not. And the second one is household composition. We look at the most vulnerable ages, those over 65 or under 70. We also include people living with disabilities or single parent households. The next one is minority status and language. This tracks race and ethnicity as well as English proficiency. If you cannot read an evacuation notice, you are at higher risk. And the other one is housing type and transport. This is often overlooked but vital. Are people in crowded multi-unit structures or mobile homes? Do they have access to vehicles? As data scientists, you will be the ones pulling those variables from census to build this score. Okay, now we move to tool number 2, that is the area deprivation index or ADI. If the SVI is a shield for disaster, the ADI is the scalpel for chronic disadvantages. The ADI is specifically on socioeconomic disadvantages at the neighborhood level. There is a famous saying in public health: your zip code is more important than your genetic code. The ADI is the tool we use to prove that. It helps us see how the environment people live in every day shapes their long-term health outcomes. So what is ADI and why ADI is so powerful for health data science? It is incredibly granular. It operates at the census block group level, which is much smaller than city or even a zip code. It uses 7 indicators including education, employment, housing. Because it's so precise, it can actually predict 30-day hospital readmission rates. It reveals startling inequalities where neighborhoods separated by only a few miles have life expectancy gaps of over 20 years. As a data scientist, you can use ADI to tell a hospital that patients from this specific block need extra follow-up care because their environment makes recovery harder. So the question is, when do you use these tools and when you use which tool? So the answer is, use the SVI, we can call shield, when you are thinking about crisis. If you are planning evacuation routes for a flood or distributing vaccines during a pandemic, SVI tells us who needs immediate help to survive the shock. And use ADI then you are looking at chronic health. If you are studying why certain neighborhoods have higher heart disease rates or why people expectancy is lower in one area versus another, ADI is your tool. It links the location to the long-term chronic health outcome. Our final tool moves us from where to why. These are directed as acyclic graphs or DAGs. If the indices we just discussed show us the destination of inequity, DAGs show us the road, that is DAG means directed acyclic graph. Okay. DAG is a visual and mathematical tool used to map the causal path of a disease. It forces you as a researcher to be explicit about your assumptions. You are not just saying things that are related, you are mapping how one thing causes another. Okay, let's look at the anatomy. Directed acyclic graph consists of nodes and arrows. A node is your variable like income or health, and the arrow represents the direction of causality. There is a one golden rule here, that is the acyclic rule. Time only moves forward. A cause must always precede an effect. Okay, therefore the path cannot loop back on itself. If A causes B and B can not loop back causes A in the same model, this keeps our logic clean and our interventions focused. So it's acyclic. This slide is where the advocacy happens. Look at this chain. Ethnicity, that follows the access to remote work. Okay, and then it follows the in risk. Many people look at the COVID data and say ethnicity is the cause of infection risk, but a directed acyclic graph helps us see the intervention point. In this case, it's access to remote work. If we identify that as the mediator, the policy solution is not to just be different ethnicity. The solution is to prove better worker protection and remote options. Policy interventions break the chain at the mediator. Note the demographics. This is how health data science becomes justice. To wrap up, let's look at our diagnostic toolkit, the where. We use SVI and ADI to pinpoint the geographic and social location of risk, and the why, that is causal logic, we can say. We use directed acyclic graphs to explain the structural logic of how that risk spreads. And we are moving from vague observation of things, that vague observation is things are unequal, to provide actionable proof for justice. Your job as a health data scientist is to force the hand of policy. These matrices are not just numbers for a spreadsheet, they are blueprints. Use the where, and the why to secure health justice for the most vulnerable members of our society. Thank you for your time today.